everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles Podcast, brought to you by Tacticam. Tacticam is by far the easiest way to begin filming your hunts. Whether it's the budget-friendly solo or the 4K 5.0, there's something for everyone to begin filming their hunts. You can check them out at tacticam.com. All right, guys, we are back a day late, an intro short. Long story short, my computer crashed and lost a ton of stuff. But I lost a day. So I got another computer, and we are up and running. But in doing so, I'm going to have to create a different intro, going to have to create a whole bunch of different stuff. So right now, you get what you get. So thanks for sticking with us. If you're interested in helping out the GoFundMe of the Bowhunter Chronicles Podcast, you can check out our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Bowhunter Chronicles Podcast. And that's a way to donate to the show. But seriously, the Patreons, they fund the show. They help out everything that we do here for things specifically just like this. So, we take most of that money, all that money. I might have to dip into it to get some computer things here, but and we do giveaways. So we do quarterly giveaways, give back to the Patreons. So this quarter, so first of the year, we're going to be giving away a pack of some sort. Seeing what is available. I really want to give away a Mystery Ranch Metcalf, but they're out of the lids, so they don't have, that's an integral part of the Metcalf. So I'm going to see about doing that. I think we're going to do some Badlands rain gear. And then we also do Base Map Pro. And they give you a swag pack with a hat and a shirt and some things like that. But you get a year of Base Map Pro. And if you want to check out Base Map, you can go to basemap.com and use the code Chronicles. That'll save you 20%, and it takes that yearly $30 cost down to about $24 for the entire year. So it's really powerful, really great navigation app, awesome on the computer, and for a fraction of the cost of some of the other ones that are out there, and you get the entire country on that. And then we're actually working with now Spartan Forge. If you go back a couple episodes, it's a really crazy concept, but Spartan Forge is using machine learning to predict deer movement, deer pattern, and all of that. So coming up here for the rut, it tells you peak rut, it tells you all these different things, and they're getting ready to launch right now. So you can check them out at spartanforge.ai, and everything is moving along rather quickly with that, but they're going to be up and running here very shortly. And in doing so, we're going to have a code for you guys as well as our Patreon. So if that's something that you're interested in, you checked out that podcast and you've been kind of waiting for it, it's coming up here very shortly. You can get a hold of me and, just send a message to Adam at bowhunterchroniclespodcast.com or through social media, and I can give you some more details and kind of We'll go back over that if you'd like. This episode is a fun one. When I was editing it the second time, it is pretty hilarious. But yeah, we did kill 3 bucks in 4 days. Should have killed 4 bucks in 4 days. So unfortunately, Frank missed, but we'll see that here very shortly. On the video, I got some video of me killing, but I had that almost edited up and the computer's dead. So I'll be going back over that again. So we'll have that up on our YouTube page if you haven't checked out our YouTube page, Bowhunter Chronicles on YouTube. But thank you everybody for sticking with us, and especially through this this trying times. And go check out our Patreon page. Patreon.com, Bowhunter Chronicles Podcast. Enjoy the episode. Hey everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles Podcast. We are going to get into it'll be October. I mean, we're pretty much coming through the end of October here. They talk about the October lull and is it worth hunting, early season, too hot. And we've had some pretty good success, some ups and downs. And we finally got John out into the woods, and he's finally hunting. So, John, let's talk about your hunt. Was it today? Was it your first hunt or yesterday?
Last night. Well, it was kind of a spur of the moment. My wife was like, "Why don't you go hunting?" I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't have anything ready." So I just grabbed my shit and threw it in the truck and took off. Got to the first spot I wanted to hunt, and the wind was kind of sketchy, and then there was a bunch of guys parked. There's the little cabin and private land that borders the spot that I wanted to hunt, and there was 4 trucks and a bunch of guys. So I was like, sketchy wind, bunch of people. So I headed back to another spot and where the wind was right. Got back there, same thing. I found a bunch more stands, or the guys that were there the last couple years have moved their stands closer to where I hunt. So, but I did see some good sign, and got up my tree, and I didn't see anything or hear anything, but it was a good night.
And what's the setup you're hunting with this year, as far as like stand, sticks, saddle?
So I got my tethered Phantom with the Oplux ropes, and I'm using 5 wild edge steps, which last night was a little sketchy because I got out there. I was like, 5 steps is probably not going to get me up to where I need to be. So I looked through my box and I found one of my old lineman rope from my muddy harness, and so I made my own little aider, which it worked. I got up as high as I needed to go, but it was a little sketchy too. But I was safe. I had my lineman on the whole time, and then when I got up, I tethered off before I took my lineman off, and got up, and I'm using the Predator, the original size one, the smaller one, and man, that thing is definitely
an improvement.
Yeah, like the ring of steps with the wild edge steps, they worked good, but like last night, the way that tree set up, there's a couple limbs on the south side of it, and that would be like my shooting side. So what I did was I extended my bridge out all the way, and then I lengthened my tether a little bit, and then I just put my tether up over my left shoulder. So it's actually opposite how you normally do it. But that gave me enough room where I just stood on the platform like a mini stand, and then the tether, held me up against, I could lean out enough, and it would have been perfect. I could have shot all the way around where I needed to shoot. So it wasn't.
And how do you like that Oplux? You were using the trophy line ropes before, right?
Yeah, I was using the Optilux or Oplux, whatever you call it. I like it a lot better. It's a lot smaller. I can get both of them in my pouch, no problem. Before I was putting one on one side, one on the other, and I mean
those Prussics, I feel like on there lock up like a son of a bitch when on your tether.
Yeah, it locks up tight. I'm using a rope man on my lineman, so
yeah.
So is that the one you gave me the other night?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot different than the other one. The other one's a lot heavier, and more bulk.
Because you were using the hunter safety system rope.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. It does the job, but I mean, when you're looking for, a little less weight and,
yeah, but
more compactability,
the difference is that rope's probably like $20 or $25, 18. I don't know what they are on Amazon right now for the hunter safety systems. Right. And then the Oplux is like, if you get one with a sewn eye, they're like $60 to $75, and then, you can make your own, but you're still going to pay $35. And like I said before, I would rather buy it from somebody and have them be liable than my dumb ass trying to make it not and being like, wrong knot.
Wrong knot. That's a slipper.
So yeah, at least you're getting out in the woods.
Yeah.
I'm putting the video together for my hunt. But on the opener, John says, I got a lot of shit to do. I won't be hunting till December. So
yeah, it's definitely, 3 weeks in Montana definitely, put a hurt on my whitetail season here. But I mean, I have to give my wife credit. She was at home taking care of everything around the house while I was out, chasing animals. So, it is what it is.
We'll have to make sure that she listens to this one because we
Yeah.
didn't say how much money we spent, and we
sure.
didn't say any things that were derogatory. It's all positives here. So
It's not over yet.
still time. Wait till we get to the final edit.
Right.
But yeah, so Ernie and I have had some success. Ernie doesn't have any. You got a doe permit left?
Yes.
So, but he's buck tagged out, and Frank's been flinging arrows all across.
Shot twice.
We should be fishing.
Should be done. We should be
Yeah.
fishing.
But so I want to kind of get into both of those. But for you, Frank, you hit a buck on opening day, correct?
Right.
And so behind your house, there's a ridge, and there's always scrapes and buck activity and whatever. But in the years past, we've had trail cameras out there, and then we got to go out there and check them and back and forth. And early season, I feel like it's usually pretty early in the season out there where you get them coming in pretty regularly, and then you and your boy have flung some arrows at them out there. This doesn't. It's like Heartbreak Ridge is what I called it after this year, I think, because it's high hopes and.
Oh well, but it's and by putting the camera we did out there though, that helped us, I think.
Yeah, and so having a cell cam out there,
Right.
You don't have to go out there. And I feel like on these small urban type, so it's not urban, like it's not like in the city, but like little properties with lots of people around, like being able to figure out when they're there without having to go out there. Because I can remember in years past, I mean, that one year where there was that big buck bedded just on the other side of that ridge,
Mm-hmm.
You'd go out there and then you'd bust a deer out of there as you were
Right.
going out there to check the camera or see what it looked like.
Check sign or whatever,
Yeah.
So did you put one of the reveals out there?
We didn't have him yet.
So
Okay. He's got his spy point out there, and that's one of the things. So my brother's got a few of the spy points. I bought one of those, the spy point links also, and that thing is just I put it out. Well, I've moved it, but I put it out. I got one picture while I was there. I didn't get any pictures for 10 days. Went back, memory card error, because the memory card goes in the slot, and then it's got a cable that goes up to the thing. And I think what happens, at least it's operator error, but it's it's because of the way that the device is made. You have to close that cord in the door, and I think when you close the cord in the door, at least in the camera that I've got,
Pinched it off.
it didn't pinch it off. I think it pushes it in just enough to pop it out.
Oh.
And so, so then I went and fixed it, and then I was getting pictures just fine. Went and moved it, and I haven't got a picture since I moved it, and I just haven't had time to get over there and mess with it. And it's like, I don't even know if I'm getting any, there's no real SD card in the thing. So if it's not sending it up to the SD card that's in the link,
You're not
it's
getting
just a
any pics.
fucking box. I mean, it's a great idea, but
So what's the difference between that one and the one I got?
that one makes any trail camera. It's just like a cell phone receiver for a trail camera.
It's an add-on.
It's
to it.
yeah. So if you already got 15 cameras and you don't want to replace them all for cell cameras, and the price on the cell cameras have come down, and I think the reveals are actually like the cheapest ones out there because they're like $99.
Yeah,
and they
99
were,
to
but you
115.
can't find one.
yeah. Well, I mean,
And then here's some operator error.
yeah. Well, John,
So it's like super easy to set this reveal up, right? And Adam's like, "Oh yeah, you just do this, do that." I'm like,
scan the QR
I
code.
scanned it, whatever, and then I had my account set up, and I'm like picking. Well, with my freaking eyesight lately, I ended up when I was out west. Eddie's like, "Dude, just zoom up on your zoom your print up on your text on your phone." I'm like, okay, so I zoomed it up, right? Well, I'm on the Reveal app, and I'm trying to pick my
Plan.
My plan. Well, it's zoomed up so much, like you can only see parts of it. I'm like, oh, and I thought I hit the monthly, right? No, I hit the yearly or the annual plan, and so it was $120, which I mean, it's still cheap, $120
Right.
for unlimited.
Right.
But so the next day, and I'm doing this. It's like 1:00 in the morning. I was on the computer and I was trying to do some editing, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta get this camera set up. And then, so the next day I get the email and it's like $120. What the hell? So I ended up, if you can see, I zoomed back out on my text. So yeah, don't make that mistake, because then you can't get your money back. And they give you a credit,
Which is just like paying ahead. So it's like
Right.
there's no benefit.
except it's an
to it.
extra $10 or something per year.
Oops. But those Reveal cameras are awesome. Like the pictures are great. Like
Yes. So Eddie he's got 3 or 4 of them, and he had one out the whole time in the original spot that we were supposed to be hunting, but it was on fire. And he actually got photos of the firemen walking through his camera.
Well, that's cool.
Wow.
So, but it never burned, so that's good, dude.
But like it's really changed the way that I've like looking at the spots, because I'm looking at the cameras like in real time. Like I was filming a kid this weekend, and I went out there and hunted the next day, and I knew it was going to be a bad day because it's one of the duck draw days. So like and then I went back and looked at both the other days that there was duck hunters on the property, and there was no pictures in the morning at all. But I thought at least that buck came out of there at night, and if he was going to go back, I'd be there. If the duck hunters fucked him up, then my intrusion into that spot would just be like more of like what they were used to on the whole property. So it was like a low risk gamble, but I didn't see anything. But it's that's hunting. But being able to see that and look at, okay, the wind, and now I can say, okay, the wind is right now, but without having to go out there, I can see what happened yesterday or the day before, and the pictures are great. The spy points are quite grainy, and you can pay extra for HD pictures, which, it's just more money. That's the only thing about Spy Point is that the Spy Points have a free plan, but it's 100 pictures are free, and for the Tacticam it's like $5 for 500 pictures.
See, I didn't even see that. Like when I
It was zoomed too far in.
It was just like monthly for $12 or $13, and then it was apparently $120 for a year.
It
So
was huge.
But
they're unlimited. So
But so, anyways, back to that, Frank. So that day, what happened with all that?
Well, I get up in the tree and I'm sitting there because of a specific wind. I wanted to stay away from that spot, actually. And then I get a text from my son-in-law. He goes, buck coming your way, he says. Got it on the camera, So then I'm looking at my phone and thinking, the deer's going to come a specific way off that ridge. Well, he didn't, and I thought, he must have went the other way, So I was kind of looking at the deer on my phone, and all of a sudden I look out in front of me, and he's standing out there. So, and I made a typical, shot. Thought I was going to take the shot that I wanted and kill him, and I missed by about 6 inches, so not good.
And then it rained
a lot,
and your son-in-law, being the kind-hearted guy that he is, because that's the one thing that sucks about like all of this is these guys right here. They have very free schedules. They can make time happen.
You got to earn it, man. You got to put in your 40.
Well, I'm stuck at work. So, I'd love to go help Frank and see what's going on or whatever. And So I call the dog, and he's like, well, it's raining. They won't be able to do that. I'm like, well, John and I talked to him. The rain will actually be just fine. They don't track off blood, and
up to like a couple inches of rain.
Yeah.
But the guy that actually was on the podcast, Brian, he's like, I'll be over there. So I call Frank. I'm like, there's a dog coming to your house. And so you got to see him work.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
didn't really.
That and that particular dog, I think, was a young dog too. And they were, trying to get it going. So,
well, and that's what he had told me before is that any track we can get that dog on.
Yeah.
Even if it's a sure thing, he'd like, if he's around, he'd like to do it just to get him.
And I really, really thought when I made the shot that I killed the deer.
Well, that's the text I got.
I was almost positive I killed the deer, and I was beside myself when I went on the trail.
Now, did you have your Tacticam? Did you film it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a great and Frank, when we get to the other deer, but Frank's been having the Tacticam. He turns it on. He's got the foresight. He's doing awesome.
And Ernie, because he's tagged out, him and I've been hunting together. He's been filming. And how many small bucks have we?
5.
Walk around underneath us, pee on a tree, stuff like that.
Yeah, because you're up in the restricted area. Yeah.
Can't shoot the dudes, man. They're all over around us. They come up, rub on the tree and stuff.
Like, I'm safe.
The other day, it was crazy, wasn't it?
Oh, they'll see it. I mean, I got really good footage of that guy coming right underneath it.
Jesus.
So that was opening day, right?
Right, opening morning.
And then did you hunt at all? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so how long did the dog here and tracked? And when did you determine that it was a non-fatal hit?
We took off on, actually I tracked the deer on blood and then lost blood. And where I lost blood, that's actually kind of where the dog lost him too. But it had rained a lot in between. So but the dog picked up the track,
Now, could you see it in your Tacticam footage on where the hit was?
You can kind of see it. So,
We're using those Nox are bright.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, green laser beams all over.
Lightning bolt.
I had some of those too.
But so the thing, I don't know what it is. If wherever Frank is hunting, or if it's like with the Tacticam stabilizer mount. I showed John actually had, and I think I showed you too. But I had a guy, it's on Instagram, DIY bow hunting Mark, make me 3D printed like riser mount.
Mm-hmm.
And what's been happening with Frank, and on that particular one, there was so much leaves in his arrow was up above here, so the actual stabilizer was down below these leaves and shot over it. So you can see it, but you have to really.
It isn't, the deer isn't in the frame. You know what I mean when the arrow hits.
Right.
So if you go like frame by frame, you can see it. And then when we get to the other one, he shoots and there's like some leaves or something. Like there's a lot of foliage, and you can't see the deer at all.
So it's kind of like my turkey hunt, where it's just enough out of line of sight.
Yeah, it's out of it's really weird how that lines up. Because when I'm watching both those deer with the bow, with the camera,
right
before I draw or anything, I got them right there.
But I think,
I'm just kind of
But I think when you bring your eye to the peep, it changes.
Right. It changes. Well, you got, like I say, there's this much distance in between where the
triangulation
camera,
of your line of sight with your sight pin and your arrow and the way the
and so when I was like editing or we're going through and looking at his videos there, I'm like, we need to get that up higher somehow.
Right. And so that's when you showed me that. That's a really good idea. And I actually thought about doing that, like just make like especially on. Well, a lot of the bows have that
hole that goes.
I've got threaded holes on mine on the riser up above there.
Yeah, because for like a
those weights on the bow tabs.
Either weights or a non-removable quiver, a 2-part quiver.
Right.
So, I mean, Yeah, you could just, but that one was pretty slick how he made them like extra big, so you can just put them in through any hole.
Yep, and then there's like a flexible, almost like a buffer, like a kind of like a lock washer in there. It's pretty slick, but like I said, when I was watching that, I was like, there's got to be a better,
Right.
Just for overall, because where your eyes are, you kind of want to see like what your eyes, not what your hand sees. You know
Right,
what I mean?
and even like on my elk, well, I dropped the bow to look, and so then it's just like,
Yeah.
it's
Well, in my natural thing is I let the bow fall
right
when I shoot.
So if it was higher, you'd have more.
You'd have more time during
More
the
time
to
fall.
recover,
Right.
because you did the same thing, didn't you?
Yeah, mine went, and
Yeah.
then I pulled it back up.
Yeah.
But mine, like my shot process is not making the bow necessarily fall, but I'm trying to push the riser to make it go off, so it goes out of frame, and then I
Right.
get them back in there. So
It takes a lot. I've been practicing in the yard the last few days. Shot a couple chipmunks, and I've just been practicing, holding it steady.
It's different,
But shooting at a chipmunk's a little different than a deer or elk.
But the thing is, though, I mean, like I say, I can't like say enough about like both those deer. Like we would have had nothing to
Right.
show for it.
Right.
We'd have no video at all. And you can this frickin' it's a little 8-point is like right down below him, peeing and like walking around, and I don't know. We'll get to that. So Ernie, was this that was the first time you hunted? Was one day? No, you hunted before that?
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you guys? So that was opening day.
That was opening
You hit
day.
the one. The dog didn't
Yeah, we didn't find
pan out. So then what happens next as we're going through the season? Because their season is Ernie's season is very short. So
Well, we went out and hunted a couple evenings. I wanted to sit near where we were
Mhm.
in an evening and see how many deer were popping out of there and stuff like that. So then October 5th, we said the wind's right, so we went in there October 5th.
Well, so like I did like a little video, and like this is kind of what is happening. Everything happens like way too quickly for me to like produce video of like what, like if you would kill the deer back in in November, I'd be editing a video for scouting that spot. But so, but he was like, well, we went and scouted it, and then all hell breaks loose, right? So, we went in there and did like a pre-scout, like the end of September, like September 25th, 27th, something like that.
Yeah.
But so what? Last year you went in there early season or the same time and found the sign, and it wasn't where we had been. Or I guess I'd never even been down that way. I'd hunted near there, taken a different access route. But what made you guys go over there, or what changed to go scout that? And
Last year?
Yeah. Well, like I said, because we hadn't hunted there in a long time.
Well, I had been hunting past there, down around another corner, and come scooting through there. It was early in the season. That was the first few days of season last year. And I found some buck rubs. The more I looked, the more buck rubs I found. I said, hey, man, it's been a long time since this place has been hit. This is more like old school stuff back in the day, And so him and I looked at it harder, and I said, holy cow, we got to sit here, get that southeast draft and get in here and sit.
And so, but I'm just saying, like for the listener, right? So,
Well, there was last year was the same way though. It was the same thing early.
and
We found a ton of sign, big sign.
But why? Like,
Well,
why is it? Why is it there? Or like, what kind?
I think the end of September you get that activity right around the 1st of October. You're like say toward the end of September, there'll be things are just starting to happen. I don't know why. I don't know if you get a doe that maybe smells different or something changes. Or
You're talking just mainly rubs, all right? Or
no, scrapes
Rubs,
too.
scrapes,
Oh man,
like-
there was scrapes, man. big as a kitchen table in there. You know?
I guess what I was getting at is like you got feed on one side, and it's kind of classic like bed to feed action.
Yeah, and this is a big picture. I mean, people, it ain't like they're feeding 200 yards away and stuff. They're feeding half a mile away.
Or maybe
Big,
farther. Even.
And big on that, they can go miles out there in them huge crops.
It's big ag fields.
And then you got to come into this 3,000 acre area, 4,000. I don't know how many acres some of that stuff is, but it's big. Well, they work their way back to their favorite thickets.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like a big travel route.
And so you keyed in on that last year.
Well, it's been 3 years, remember? Remember the first year when I went out there and I found the great big rubs? That's the year you killed that 10.
Yeah, I killed him.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that's, I went out there early and found that, and then last year Ernie and I kind of went the same route out that way, but we found it 2 different places, remember? And one was closer to where you kill them deer now,
Well, I mean, I guess this is what I'm getting at is, so last year, you went in there, you guys both, it was a little bit like this year, you killed a buck in there, you missed one, hit a branch same day or whatever.
Same night.
I went in there and killed a buck.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went in there, I didn't go in there and scout or see any of that stuff. I just went
where we told you to go.
A point on a map, facing the wrong way. Fucking everything is just completely wrong. But then you went back in there and saw, what'd your boy see? 8 bucks in one?
8 different bucks.
Yeah. And so, you hear that and you say, well, why are they doing that? So then when we went in there and scouted this year and like looking at it, there was rubs and scrapes and the same thing, but like my interpretation of like the way that it shaped out was like there was all that sign and everything out here, and when I think the hardest thing, if you listen to a lot of podcasts or you listen to like the Dan Infalts and John Eberharts and all that, they talk about all this nocturnal sign. And Frank, you're a big guy who would say, well, there's fucking doing that at night, And I think this is like a textbook deal where it like puts it into perspective for me, because where all that sign is and all that stuff is just kind of like out in the open, like in the middle,
It's like in a big transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know that there's guys that'll look at that and be like, I got to set up on this. It's fucking like torn up. I mean, because it's like for Michigan, I mean, for that a giant piece of heavily pressured public, that much sign, you just absolutely can't walk by it and not notice it.
It's not going unnoticed.
Yeah. And so I think that's where most people would key in on that. But then as we got back towards where we were seeing those bucks and whatever, last year you said you kicked a couple small bucks out of this where it started to get thick. We did the exact same thing this year when we went in there. But like what I noticed is Frank will say, oh, well, you get this edge and it starts to get thicker. That's where you want to be. And like, right on the edges and stuff like that. But what I noticed is that big sign that was, like, if you want to say like 100 yards wide of bullshit, sign, rubs, scrapes, it all kind of narrowed down right there to one spot where you weren't seeing it 50 yards over here anymore. You weren't seeing it, 50 yards the other way. It was all kind of in this like one little 30-yard stripe.
Yeah, if you look at it like at a half-mile long section, you got crops and stuff. You got rubs and big rubs and scrapes way out front. People get keyed in on that, and that's you see those few guys going up there. Well, then it comes like this, and then the little, what we call the little queer spot before we turn right. Mm-hmm. You go up and you can hunt that deal. See, it's starting to begin. Okay, the hourglass. I'd like to look at it as an hourglass. So this is all the woods and the feed and up here, and then when it comes down into the hourglass, then here we sit in that neck of the hourglass. Then the other half of the hourglass is all that bedding, but it's a big hourglass. So it took a little while, a couple seasons or so and it seems to be a sweet spot. I mean, right there.
Well, them deer used to come through there though for years too. I mean, not to maybe the extent that they did the last couple of years, but I mean, just to the south of there. I told you guys them spots right there. I've killed deer in there. Where it's but they use that yet too.
People were so scattered back then,
right?
Though, and there was a lot of deer, and they'd hunt runways. They just hunted runways,
right?
And every deer I seen may have been on a runway or what at one time or another, but they would funnel through and they'd be just meandering through that neck of the hourglass, go over and hit a runway and go into the big thick stuff, by the hemlock and
But so like inside of that, like, so this is you kind of paint a picture. This is all big hardwoods, but then there's also like inside it is some of this gnarly thick shit, and it like.
You guys know all about that.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is like if you recall last year's podcast where, John was at full draw on a nice little buck, at 50 yards and the wind just caught us. But I mean, we inadvertently got too far into that thick stuff and then just button hooked. We just were like looking for the edge on the other way. We were just trying to come out of the bullshit.
Yeah,
that was a big button hook.
The ZZ Top.
But the deer, I mean, they were right there. I mean, in the exact same spot, moving through that same edge the same way.
Right. So it kind of goes even like the pot or like that. What the vitals the other night with Greg.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about trying to find those little, not necessarily pinch points, but like those little transitions that are kind of funneling the deer through. Like most people would kind of like walk through there and then be like, this is just big hardwoods, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe see that sign out, like you're saying, and, we're going to sit on the field edge. Oh, there's big rubs.
Right.
And, food. Well, yeah, that's probably a good spot at midnight,
Yeah.
But if you were to get back in there farther and find, it might not look like much. Like even when we're walking through there, I'm like, what the hell? This looks kind of like shit. But then, then you start seeing the sign and then kind of, and you're putting two and two together. Well, then get back in farther.
It does look like shit, and then the shit hits the fan.
Well, and like I say, I just wanted to like kind of like paint the picture of like, instead of just us saying like, this is what we did this season. Like, to me, like when I went in there, after we scouted it, like I knew exactly where I wanted to sit and why. And it wasn't, maybe your favorite spot because you like to go over here a little bit more and then you want to go, just a little bit off. But like seeing what I saw, I was like, I want to be right in the middle here. So it was October 5th?
Yeah.
And so you guys go in there, you get up, and you're like, okay, we got a southeast wind, southeast draft. We're going to go ahead and...
Well, that morning at the truck, we got ready and stuff, and I looked at him and I says,
I don't need this fucking Tacticam. I'm leaving it in the car.
Well,
probably won't even see anything.
That part of the story's coming up. I looked at him and I said, man, I can't believe there'd be as many bucks as there was last year. So we go in. He shoots off. I shoot off. I get up. I hooked in by the fern.
Mm-hmm.
Went straight to the back, and then I hooked in, and I went up, and I was 25 yards dead north of the hemlock.
Mm-hmm.
Just roughly where I wanted to be, and I used my light, and I said, oh, man, this is perfect. That's where I wanted to be. Get all set up. He's got the keys. He's over there. He's all set up. I reach in the bag, and I go, no way. Left every camera in the truck. So I go, oh, yeah, well, I'll grab them next time, right? Of course, what do you have? A heyday. 15 deer, $7.
So, like, let's talk about today.
It didn't take too long. I was probably up there maybe 30 minutes after shooting light. Happened to glance to my left where most of the action was going to happen, and there was one sneaking through. And I said, oh, my God, I had some real weird horns. So I just quickly said 35, drew, he come in, I went, meh. He stopped, and I squeezed one off. He ran back, into where you guys button hooked.
And what happened there? Because that's a with your arrow that you were shooting. You said,
well, last year it was the rages, and I've changed and stuff. This year I went to something a little bit different. We built some heavier elk arrows, so I'm running like 208 grains up front, pretty large 2-blade, cut on contact head. That arrow went off, and for some reason I didn't put lit Knox on. Lit Knox would have told a different story, but he was in a little bit of a dark spot. But I fired like that, and all I heard was, just a like that. I went, did I miss that deer? Did I miss that? It sounded like the arrow went in.
And the deer didn't take
ground.
off like he was.
Well, he just scooted forward and then trotted in. But I did notice the tail was down and tucked. So he shot in like that, and I heard him breaking some stuff. And I'm going, wow. I said, it didn't even sound like I hit that deer. Took about 2 minutes there. I go, oh, maybe I did hit that deer, right? So that was weird, and I thought about it. So a little later, had 2 does, 2 fawns come in. They come in the pinch point, but then as they got near me, they wanted a different entryway into the bedding area. So they went over here past our hemlock, just the other side of it. Just not much later at all, just a few minutes later, doe and 2 fawns come. Same, right there, crossing right there, come right past me on this side, went in. So I'm watching them, and I'm thinking, wow, they're really coming, For some reason over there, if some start coming early, it's like others follow. And he had texted me. Well, first, it was about 8:40. I looked up, and all I seen was deer right on the same deal where I shot that buck. Doe, buck, 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 buck. Then they angled off Then I looked, the more I looked, I said, man, that 4th one's an 8-point. So off they go, and they go in, and I'm hoping, man, if they turn and go down that edge, they're going to run right smack into Uncle Frank here, right? So it wasn't long, and he texts, you said you just shot at one.
So did you hear that deer snort?
Yep, I remember that text. And then I said, oh, man. And so I was answering the text. I looked up, and I seen deer at 75 yards. A bunch of them just decking around, kind of like that. I couldn't see what all they were, and I said, man, bunch right between us. And he said, okay. And it wasn't long. The big doe, and them 4 bucks did not want to leave her. Paraded right out in front of me. Bang, bang, bang. I said, man, that is an 8-point. He come up, I said, he stops, I'm shooting. So I drew in a little tunnel. Gave him a little mat, stopped all 4 of them. So I shot there, same thing happens. It goes, I heard this little thud. Just this little thud. I went, man, that's weird. And I said, I know I shot him right through the ribs. But there's a reason probably why I didn't see the hole. These flat 2 blades, they are rounded cut on contact. I think they go in and cut, and then it just comes right back.
Yeah.
So that deer ran off, and I'm going, holy cow. That's weird. Just weird. I usually hear it hit. You hear that big noise. You see a big red spot. Stuff like that. Come to find out, after getting down, I got on the first one, 36 yards. I guessed him at 35. There's my arrow laying stuck in the ground, just completely saturated. I'm going 36 yards, completely through the deer, 58 pounds, heavier arrow. It's a 300 shaft with 208 up front, and it sticks in the ground after going through the center of the ribs. Quiet as a church mouse. I go to the other one, 34 yards, I guess 35. Saturated with blood, stuck in a log 10 feet past where he's standing. Stuck in a log. So that's impressive energy.
How far did the deer go?
First one, he did a button hook. He must have tracked you guys.
Yeah.
Went in behind.
He went in and then he turned to
and
the
it was
south.
he went in the crap. But
How was there a good blood trail though? Not much.
not as good as I'd like. Wasn't bad.
We actually kind of got in there, and I said at one point you were on the blood, remember? And I said, where did you hear that sound? He said, right back over here. I walked in there, and the sun was shining down through there. Seen the big old white belly over there. They found him.
Yeah, he went 75 yards probably.
Yeah.
Like this.
The other one went a little farther.
He might have went
A little-
100.
yeah.
He might have went 100,
Yeah.
but he was running.
Yeah. He went across the trail, and
His buddy followed him until he fell down, I think.
that was it.
But again, that blood trail, I'll tell you, was better.
The second one.
Yeah, because we were able to walk along.
Yeah.
But you get up there, and it's the same story. You're looking at this hit. It's got a it's got a 2-inch gash, but it's
Closed up.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
But they're both double
oh, my
lungs.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
center of the cage.
that's kind of like what Troy was saying, though, is like, and I've seen the same argument like on the Michigan pages during like rifle season, people talking shit about the 450 Bushmaster. They're shooting these giant pumpkins at 200 and 300 yards, and they're not getting a pass through, and they're not getting a blood trail, but the deer goes like 40 yards and falls over. And
Dad's dead.
Dad's dead,
you
right?
Can't kill him any better than that.
And so, but there's like, there's no blood, and I can't believe it didn't go through. Well, all the energy transferred into fucking its world up,
Right.
Like, so the same thing, Troy says, well, you don't need a good blood trail if you killed them and they're dead right there. But, I mean, just from what we're used to, you're used to shooting with the range. But, like, one of the things that I'll never forget, and it's just one of those oddities, I guess, because it had to have been an anomaly, but was the deer that you shot 5 years ago, 6 years ago now at that nap kill zone at 20 yards, and we tracked it for 700 or something, and it didn't pass through. Like,
I mean, the fletchings on those mechanicals when I first started shooting them, the arrow and fletchings would be on the side I hit, and I'd hit it right behind the leg. And now at that range, it went through, and God only knows how much farther it would have went if it hadn't hit the ground or the log.
Right.
Shoot,
Well,
I'd have to line two of them
and that's
up.
what I used to tell you guys, when we used to shoot the other, heavy aluminum arrows with 2 blade heads or whatever, or 3 blades with, stuff we like snuffers and stuff like that, But these heads today, there's a lot of different heads on the market.
come on. I thought you were turning that off when you were fucking with your phone.
I'm sorry.
Is this your first pod?
Did you turn the ringer off?
Sorry, fellas.
You're back?
I'm back. I had to take that call.
It's financial advisor.
No, it was my nephew.
So what happened what did you see that morning, Frank? And how was your setup?
Well, kind of down in the triangle there, where, I told you and Chris to go. And I just got down there and got up a tree, and, there was rubs, in there, we saw them in there week 4 or whatever. And then I got, actually, I'd hunted that in the evening, didn't I? Oh, yeah, the wind was bad. Remember, the wind got bad on us? And so I went a little farther down, and then I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden see a deer, out in front of me, and look, it's a buck, and he's kind of mingling around like, pretty soon he's coming right at me. Gets in there, and I don't know, I got him on the camera, He's out there pissing out there in front of me and stuff, and can't shoot him, stuffing away. And then he came right to me. Come right straight at me, and he gets down below me like he's probably, 15 yards? And just looked up at me, and I said, nah, this ain't good, But I had really good cover, too. I just can't believe that deer picked me out, So he...
And you're your climber?
Yeah. But he backed up, and I had the tree, you know what I mean? I had a tree right, right behind me here, and like there was another down tree across this tree alongside of me, and then leaves and stuff. I mean, it was great cover, But he's
like, oh shit, it's Uncle Fred.
Oh man, I know that guy, So then he
says, I should be good.
He goes, he bounds out a little bit.
Just hold still.
He bounds out and stops, and I got no shot. And then he turns and he starts walking to the left, and I'm thinking, oh, I got a little opening right there. So I didn't have time to range him or anything, so I'm thinking I'll shoot him with my 25-yard pin. So I drew her back, put it right in the middle of him, let her rip. He was 34.
So Ernie, in this time frame, now that you're videoing him being the cameraman, you need to be working on the yardage measurements. How far is that, Frank? What do you think?
I've been doing a lot more work on that. You know what I mean? Once we get set up, he's going, "What are you doing?" I'm like,
hear him over there.
I'm doing a lot of yardages and stuff.
Need to get him some little paddles. Like, blue is 20.
Hey, here's the deal, dude. These deer are so close to us now. Them bucks up there, it's like you can spit on them. I was going to spit on that one the other day that was underneath me.
So here's the thing. I think like it was the Sunday prior to that. So literally the day before, I was hunting. I don't know if you guys were up north or you weren't hunting or something. And I was like, where do you guys think I should hunt? And you were like, don't go back there. Don't go to that spot. Go up front. Try this spot. And I had some deer go around me and go through the water and stuff. But I think they wanted to keep me out of there.
No,
like,
that wasn't the reason.
They're like, don't,
it wouldn't have mattered.
Don't go back there. Don't go back there.
But then now, okay, all truth be known.
How good did that look?
All truth be known, that looked really good over there, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. But it was like, I mean, this spot though, like to me, because I hunted it another time, or maybe it was that same day. It was that same day, and I had a gaggle full of dudes walk by. It's like the Dan Infalt, ugly. The ugly fat chick spot, because like I was in there super early and set up with because doing all the camera gear and all that shit, so I'm up there in the dark and these guys came through. They must have been cops because they had the brightest fucking lights I'd ever seen in my life. You could see them coming from like
aliens
a mile away. You could see them from space.
This is the MIB.
Yeah.
So that spot, like those spots to me, like where those deer ended up going around that other side where I'd hunted before.
Right.
Is a little bit it's further back off of the main trail, and it's I don't know, a little less like out there like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Well, so that's I prefer not to hunt generally that, but it did look good. So if that was
then Ernie kills them bucks, and then we got to go to Boyne Mountain, right, Ernie? On the 8th. Yeah.
Yes.
Shot him on the 5th. So on the 8th, we're going to leave, and Adam goes...
No, on the 9th, I think, because I killed that deer on the 9th.
It was the 8th.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it a Thursday?
Yeah, it
was a Thursday.
That'd be
Thursday
the
8th.
Okay.
You said,
Monday was the 5th.
Yeah.
And he says, well, where should I go? And we said, there's only one spot.
Well, yeah, I wanted to get to that because so we were looking at it, and for whatever reason, not like prevailing wind or whatever, but just the way that it lays out, there's this little southeast draft. Wind out of the west there is terrible. It's just a bad wind. And it was supposed to be, it was a west wind at 1 mile an hour. And so we looked at it, and, they put a spot on the map saying, because Ernie said, okay, I sat here. If I would have sat over there, all those deer would have walked right past me. And so I put that mark on the map. And like, again, with like when John and I got lost.
I seen your fucking track.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell, dude? You just out here like practicing cursive?
I did. I literally did like 4 circles around there. Like, because there's that one little pothole where you go into and then you come up out of the backside of it and there's a trail. The trail right there off of the main trail. I couldn't fucking find it to save my life.
I think he's just bullshit. I think what he's doing, he's out there laying down scent.
Yeah,
so
he's putting
like,
scent
he's
down.
like, okay, I'm going to walk over here.
Loops.
So
That's
then,
what he's doing.
now the deer going to walk up there. Oh, shit, there's a guy over there. So they're going to come over.
Scent loops, man. I know what he's doing.
He's funneling them right to him.
Yeah.
But I was there so freaking early, and there was a guy there before me. And I was like, holy shit, because it was like...
It's probably the same dude from last year, like, watching us walk around in circles. Like, oh, man,
no,
it's these clowns again.
This guy was like Andre the Giant. He was huge, like a huge, like, older fella with a climber. And I was like, all right, man, where are you going? And he's like, well, where are you going? I'm like, well, I'm going to go down there, and I'm going to take a right. And he's like, I'm going all the way to the end, because he was hunting the big sign out there on them fields, and he wanted to get out there early. Right. And I was like...
Good luck.
I was like, all right, man, that's cool. But then he wasn't near enough to see my light doing fucking loop-de-loops because I literally couldn't find the trail.
The thing is, Adam asked me, he's like, hey, what are you doing Thursday? You want to hunt? I'm like, oh, I can't. I should have just went because I ended up going out there
anyways, you know.
So I get out there and I got like to the spot where we had talked about. And when we were out there scouting, like I said, all that buck sign kind of necked down to this one little area, which is more over towards where where Frank would go, and then where Ernie was at, there was like one main big runway, and I was like, well, I want to be like kind of in between the two of them. So I just stood there for a minute, and like I feel like that's like the art of the Uncle Frank, you know, where like what the story when he killed the 4-point up there with you. He just goes to a tree. Like, that's the one. You know, I stand there and I, like, break down every tree. Like, which one looks good, you know? I don't know. It's hard to do in the dark. You know, I didn't have a tree picked out. Like, So I just got up a tree in between those two things. And they had said, you know, everything's done by 9 o'clock. We got a west wind, 1 mile an hour, but the draft was blowing the right way, but it would just kind of flip-flop, but it was pretty stagnant. So I get up there and it's like 8:30, 8 o'clock, I don't know, and I had this deer go behind me on the main buck sign trail, like the one and it was about maybe 40 yards behind me, but like through the edge of all the thick stuff. And you guys had seen this little pencil spike buck,
right?
And that's what it was. And then it was like 9 o'clock. I looked at my watch. It was like 9:05, 9:08, something like that. And I'm like, fuck, it's after 9. Like, nothing ever happens after 9. Like, I could have just sat at my house.
But we seen that buck last year. It was like 10 o'clock, I thought.
Yeah, well, but it was like much colder.
Yeah, it was cold.
You know, so
it wasn't cold in the morning when we were walking out.
No.
Well, I wasn't anyway. I was as red as that freaking Honda Rancher right there. Bottom of my tree with my shirt off.
Well, like I literally looked at my watch and I looked up and I just kind of like glanced over to my left and there was just a rack looking through the thing. And where you said that hemlock, that's right where that deer died. I was mistaken, like, because the main trail curves right there. And I went off the straight.
Yeah.
You know, well, that deer never crossed the trail. He just went that way. And so anyways, I looked over and I was like, holy shit. You know, so I like reached up and I turned on all the cameras and stuff. And he was already, he just was walking. So he got behind a tree and I drew back and I just kind of waited. And I had this tree range right in front of me that was 17 yards. And when he got to there, it was like, the bow went off and I went, motherfucker. Like, because, and like, it was violent. Like, it was like this deer, when I shot him in the neck. Yes, everybody, I've texted a lot of you guys and you seen pictures and stuff, and said, please let me know, that, tell me you shot him in the neck. Yes, of course I did. But he was quartering hard to me, and I shot him right on a human would be in the collarbone, and it came out through his offside shoulder, right in the pocket through the tricep of his front leg. So when he did the mule kick, he was all elbows on the front. So he flipped over, got up and tried to run and fell down again, got up on his back legs and ran with his head in the dirt, just snow plowing, did another bound, snow plow. And honestly, that right there should have told me that the shot was right where it should have been, being that angle or whatever. But, even with yours, Ernie, the arrow went and you didn't hear the sound, but you kind of saw, at least on the second one, where the arrow went or whatever. And the way that the deer, this deer took off like a fucking shot. The last couple deer that last year I shot that one and it broke his other leg, and, he took off like a missile, and I was nervous about that one too. But this deer took off, and I was like, God, son of a bitch. And he ran out 80, 90 yards, and then I didn't see him anymore. But he was breaking everything. So
when you texted me,
I was texting everybody. I was fucking talking on the phone with Frank. I'm going, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but when you texted me though, and I was like, well, you're like, I hit a big buck, and I was like, well, how'd you hit him? And I'm like, did you get a pass through? When you said that, I'm like, well, he's dead. He's dead. The bow that you're shooting, 70 pounds. The arrow, that's got to, what is it?
Almost 600. It's 596,
right.
I think.
So 600 grain arrow. I'm like, if you got a pass through and you hit him up in the front like that, and he was fucking falling down and doing the shit that you're saying.
Shot him with the steel force, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's dead. And then I think you're like, yeah, I got a pass through.
Yeah, well, so
you could see the arrow sitting down.
Yeah, I mean, it went right past through, but then it was cocked sideways funny, and it was all covered in dirt and blood. So through the binoculars, it kind of looked almost gutty. It was all red, but then it was there's brown shit on it.
Yeah, but if you would have went through his guts, he wouldn't have been falling forward. He wouldn't have.
Well, I would. Yeah, I mean, but I just didn't know how far quartered it was, or
right.
Whatever. And the arrow was sitting there weird. Well, what
he
happened
probably
was,
hit it.
Yeah, that's
his
what
back
happened.
leg.
When it went through, he pulled that leg back and it
flung it
flopped
out.
around, and it was like Ernie's. It was stuck in a log, and so it was up, and then he kicked it and spun it around. But then I was just up there freaking out, and it's funny on the video because I'm like with the GoPro that's above me, I'm I put my hands up, I'm like, what the fuck, oh man. And
he's swinging around looking nervous and everything, and he's like, oh my god.
Well, like I say, up until this year, I had the crown of the world's worst bow hunter.
But now I got it.
But
world's worst bow.
But it just is we talk about it sometimes, and I know I've talked about it. I was talking about it with Zach on, I think it was after the Vitals Live, but if you don't get this, and maybe that's what happened with more than likely with the elk too, is you feel there's so much put into that one opportunity, or you only get so many opportunities,
right.
And then there's so much pressure where you're don't mess it up, and that your mind telling you don't mess it up, you press so hard, and then then you mess it up, or at least that's
right.
What I did. And I think that goes back to the old Uncle Frankism of you got to get a few under your belt, and Dan Infalt saying the time to kill a draw back out of 160 isn't the first time you've drawn back on a deer,
Right.
And so I think that to me is one of the things that I'm getting over the years, where I'm not, I was drawn back well ahead. It wasn't like the turkey where I drew back and it was,
right.
It went off as soon as it was back. I was holding back. I was waiting. Everybody that watches that video.
When you shot the decoy, you mean?
Yeah. They say, you didn't even stop him. And I was like, well, I didn't want anything, I wasn't overly concerned about that.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just trying. If he would have taken another step, it would have been a little bit further back, but it would have been still,
Yeah.
Same scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to stop a deer.
No,
I mean, especially
no.
he was at 17 yards.
Yeah.
So, that is a close shot. So, like you're saying, even if it was a little bit farther back, it would have been right through, his lungs. But
So I called John. I called Frank. I'm up there. I'm bouncing around because I'm shaking so bad. Because I'm like, oh, man, like I just fucked this up. And I got down and, like, it was really easy to track the deer. And I think that's maybe one thing that we noticed from last year. You weren't necessarily tracking the blood as much as you were like, well, his one leg doesn't work. So there's this scuff mark, and the scuff mark. And then, like, when we got out there, I'm like, look, this is where he fell down. Then there's
I'm like, I'm following. I'm like, oh, well, shit, he went right that way. I can see all of his, the way he's dragging himself through there, falling down.
Yeah. And like for that one, it was like a massacre when I got up to him. There was blood. But what was weird is, like, there was no, like, it either had to, like, cut off his lungs or his heart or
Top
something.
of his heart.
Because there wasn't a hole in the heart or, like, in the lungs at all.
But the top, when we pulled it out, like, the whole, like, you just shaved off his freaking aorta.
All the tubes that hook up.
Yeah. And it was...
You seen how much blood was by his nose and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was covered. Like,
yeah.
He was covered in blood.
Yeah.
So, and I think I actually got, like, on the Tacticam, like I said, like, he was bounding away, and then he kind of walks, and then you can't see him anymore. But I think that's where he fell over, because on base map from my tree to where the deer was 94 yards. And so he was at 17. He went 80 yards or whatever. So,
yeah.
But, and so that was, like, it's funny, because I said I wanted to kill, like, an 85-inch 8-point this year, because I just wanted a deer to European mount where I didn't have to think about, like, well, and I still look at that deer and I'm like, oh man, maybe I should have mounted them, like, whatever. But so it's very similar to the deer that I killed 2 years ago out there, with the same little wannabe 10 points on the ends of it. But what's interesting to me there is, you guys saw that many deer. You went in and killed and shot at, a fair amount of deer there. Put a ton of sign down. And then, 3 days later, I was able to kill that buck. That buck didn't get the memo that it's a bad spot.
It's a kill zone here.
But I saw 2 deer, You saw 15, you'd seen a few there. So it kind of lends to that, as more pressure gets in, you can kind of quantify the amount of deer that you're seeing.
And as we were walking out, there was a guy, when we were dragging your deer out, there was a hunter coming in, and it's like, well, he's like,
well,
nice one or something.
Yeah.
Ernie and I pulled 2 of them out.
Yeah.
We pulled them 2 out on the cart, man. We didn't get out until, 4 o'clock, wasn't it? Yeah, because that kid was going hunting.
Yeah,
It was about 4 in the afternoon.
pushing for.
What was his reaction?
Well, there were a couple of nice ones, and I wasn't trying to be an asshole or anything. I said to the kid, I goes, where do you kind of plan on hunting? And he goes, I said, are you going to stay like here, or were you planning on going over there? And he goes, well, I was kind of going to go this way. And I said, the reason I said I'm going to say this is because we have fucked that woods up over there. I said, you don't want to go over there.
You don't want to waste your time over there.
It's trash, dude. I ain't shit. There's gut piles. There's shit happening over there. So I was just being honest with the guy,
Well, and that was, it was interesting to me because, that spot is hunted by a lot of people, and I really haven't seen that many people out there this year, or it's just timing. Like, I'm either in before them and then out.
I think you'll see weekend pressure, more. That's why we don't hunt it, on the weekend, per se,
Oh, and he's on a very valid point. As you sat in that one spot and you watched the parade of guys go up front on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning, I wouldn't hunt where I hunt.
Yeah, where we did.
I wouldn't do that, only because what they do is they bump them, and then they go around toward toward the vehicles, then head back to the big marshes.
Right.
Or they'll go farther over through the
That's when you sit at
cedars.
the parking lot, pull an infault.
Right.
So
You walk all the way out and come all the way back.
That's why you've seen us go in there on a Monday.
So I guess because I called Frank and he was like, giving me the ones and twos, and John's like, well, I got stuff to do. Just let me know. Do you need me to come out there? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna need some help. But so when I was saying how I couldn't help you, how are you feeling there when I called you?
I thought it was pretty cool. It was just like, wow. I mean, we're talking, and I said, well, what do you got? And all this, and yeah, I got this, I got that. And I said, well, go track them, and he did.
Yeah, and
it's like he's going, yeah, he went here, and on the phone with him, and then he goes, oh, I got some blood here, and and there's the deer, he goes. So I said, I knew he wouldn't go very far, though.
Well, I was texting back and forth with Chris, before that, because he had texted me something about the hunting public. He was watching the hunting public or something. Chris works third shift, and so he was, just getting home or whatever. And so I'm texting him, and he's talking about Ted. And then I was like, just hit a big buck. And then I was freaking out so that I wasn't on my phone, doing other stuff. And he's like, you can't leave me hanging like that. What happened? He's like, you or Ted, or what? What are you talking about?
I can see him throwing his hands up in the air.
So
you were in your setup. I think people already know it. I mean, you posted it, but you're sitting in one of the latitudes.
Yeah, the classic. I got to get a video out. It's just been raining, and I want to do it outside and some things. So there's really no information out there. You're
still using the same sticks that you used last year?
I have the B sticks.
Oh, you bought the B sticks, but you're using that same top platform.
Yep. And so last year I killed the one out of the climber base. Don't do that. And message me if you want to know why it's a bad idea.
You might end up at the bottom of the tree, or just hanging.
I'll just be hanging there.
Hanging there, yeah. You wouldn't be at the bottom of the tree, but the stand will be.
But yeah, so I was using that with the classic saddle, and then the reason I was asking is because I got some of the latitude ropes now, and they have that Swabish hitch on their Oplux, and it just unlocks so much more free. It's night and day difference. And I mean, it still locks up just as well, but it just releases a little bit easier.
Yeah, I did notice last night that you have to freaking grab a hold of that and twist it.
Yeah, and then if it gets wet, it's even worse because it's
cinches down even tighter.
The one you gave me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, maybe you need to find a tree guy to tie you up one of those other hitches. Or someone that knows knots, because
it's
I don't know. It's
that's
just,
one thing.
It's sketchy.
Yeah,
it's
even last night, my first time I did mess around. I put my put all my saddle stuff on. Oh, it's been a few weeks ago. Right after I got back from Montana, I went out in the yard. And because you dropped off the other platform.
Platform,
yeah, and those other ropes. So I was just kind of testing them out, but I wasn't 20 feet up in the tree. So last night I'm up, I get up there and then, I don't know, I'm always kind of leery, and I'm looking at the knots and everything, and I still have my lineman on, but I'm sitting there bouncing around and swinging a little bit and just double checking everything before I cut loose. But because my lineman, people probably already heard, but I don't use a carabiner on my lineman. I don't use two. I use one. So I do a girth hitch on one end, and then that way it always stays connected to my my saddle, and then I just tuck it in my pouch on that side. And the other side, I have my carabiner, and then I have a ropeman. So I like the ropeman for the lineman because it's so easy. I don't have to worry about that prusik tightening up, and you can tighten and loosen that so easy as you're going up. Because especially when I was doing that with that aider, like if I was too tight to the tree, then I couldn't pick up my right leg far enough, and then I'd hit my lineman, and then I'd have to like pull it up and get my foot on. But it worked good. I can see where the nader and swader, set up with the nader part is a small strap and it's got a hook that's basically by your knee. So you just hook your knee on that step, and then you hook the aider on the one up above. So then it's like you just kind of shimmy up to the next one. But it is a lot of extra stuff on your person.
And so you're using it's the 4th Arrow stiff arm with the out on a limb standard base. What did you think about that going from the muddy to the...
It was a lot lighter, I'll tell you that. But with that, the way that camera arm, it's the 2-piece. So when it swings out all the way, like there's so much leverage on that long arm, it wouldn't tighten up. Like it moved a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been using the Assassin's Reach base, and I was telling you I want to like drill a hole in it, or just to, because if you could put like the Beast arm or even like the Lone Wolf Custom Gear, how it's got that little knob on it where you could push the pressure out from the tree, that would take care of that, I think.
No, that's not I had it. That's got that like cam over buckle.
Yeah.
And if you just keep tension on it, you can get that tightened down perfect. I didn't have any. The base wasn't moving. It was the ball. The ball, because so that's got like that little cam
now
lever.
Can you tighten that up because it's all like a press fit tension?
I think you could, but the way it was, like you go, like you swing that lever all the way down and it hit the bottom peg, so it couldn't go any farther. So you'd have to loosen it up, and if there was a way to, like,
I think because those 3 screws, I think it tightens up that plate.
Yeah,
and that
so
plate
I'd have to tighten
tension.
I'd have to tighten up those three bolts.
Yep. Yeah, I think because I've been having an issue. I can't get that over center buckle tight enough on mine, and I just finally said fuck it, and I put a ratchet strap on there, and I just been doing it.
Is that the one you were out there in the backyard with?
No, that was different. Same buckle.
Same concept.
Yeah, same concept. But I got one for the.
Plus, that base is a little bit bigger than yours, though.
Yeah.
So it has a little more bite to it.
Yeah. Well, the one that I've got, it's only got 3 things. So if it's got a little bit of a tilt to it, then it just fucking goes one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I just said piss on it, and I put a ratchet strap on there. Actually, what I did is I took a 1-inch ratchet strap end.
Yeah.
And then I took one of those straps that I had for the XOP for making the shelf, that just little tie down thing. I just girth hitched that around there and ran it back through,
right?
Because it was a little bit long. And then I took one of the Lone Wolf cam straps and pulled the end out, and then I girth hitched that loop on the end of it, and then I ran that through the buckle. Right. So it's only got the one hook, but it's hooking into the loop from that thing. And so I just tighten it down, and then I just do it quietly. You had to do that with that muddy, I think.
Yeah, that had a regular.
Yeah. But I was like, fuck it. But the reason, like,
if you do it slow enough and keep tension, you can do it super quiet. It's just,
But the reason that I like that one, and I haven't found another one that's that small, is that Assassin's Reach base is so small that it fits right in one of the pouches. So I keep that whole base in my left pouch, and then I put my tether on top of it, and then I put my lineman on top of that. So when I get to the tree, put my lineman, climb up, hook my tether up, put my camera arm base on, and then I get my backpack out.
Yeah, it was a freaking rodeo for me last night because I only had 2 bow ropes. Normally I have 3 so I can carry up all my gear. So what I did was I took my long paracord one. Well, while we were out west, I cut like 8 feet off of it, and I forgot about that. So I'm like, oh, shit, I got to have my pack, and I got the camera arm, and then I got the base, and then I don't have a pack for the Predator. So I'm like, well, I got to hook that onto something. So I
look like a fucking gypsy.
Oh, yeah. So, and then, I didn't know how it was going to work with that aider. So I just went up and put up my steps first without anything. I should have had a camera going because it would have been funny, but it looked like the Three Stooges. And so I tied one end of the rope to my bow and the other end to my pack and all that stuff. And I climbed up and I got about a third of or 2/3 of the way up, and all of a sudden I'm like feeling pressure, and I look down and I'm pulling that shit up with me because my rope wasn't long enough. So then I pull my bow up, unhook that. Now I'm, hanging here in the tree with my bow, and it's like, oh, shit. So then I reach in my pack and I get that strap, I don't even know what you call it, but.
The hiss strap?
Yeah, the hiss strap.
And I think you've got the one. So
it was a homemade one.
Yeah, that's from one of our Patreons, Anthony. So I think Frank's got one. I think I gave him one.
Yeah,
but my brother's got one. Chris has one.
Yeah, so I hooked that on the little tree next to me. I freaking hooked that up, and I hooked my bow to that, and then I climb up a little farther. And so I finally get up there. I get everything settled in, and it worked out. But.
So are you still with that super light, compact setup? Are you still using your Exo pack for all your stuff?
Well, I just had the frame.
Okay.
So, that's the thing. It's like because my fanny pack doesn't have shoulder straps or anything, and I can't stand wearing that. I mean, for a while I had my old Carpenter suspenders, clipped to it, and that worked. But in order to get, my bag of steps, the camera arm, and all that gear, I put the camera and the base in my fanny pack, and then I just strap that to the back, to the bottom part of my frame pack. And then I put the camera arm, my knee pad, and the steps on the top strap. So it's way lighter. Like, nothing. Like last year I was carrying 60 pounds in.
Well, yeah, it just seems like, so you want to cut bulk. You've got wild edge steps that are this big.
Right.
You've got, the platform that's this big. And then you've got a freaking giant, mountain pack.
Yeah, but the frame is tiny. Yeah. I took the pack off. And eventually when, I can afford it, I'm going to end up buying, I think I'm going to get that I think it's 1,800 Exo offers now. It's a small pack.
Well, I got a pack that you can use. I got a pack for you.
But it's, you can put that right on the frame. Because I would like to, it's nice. That works good. But it's also nice even with that pack, with the bag on there, because then I can just stuff everything in it. And if I want to, I could carry that up. But the part that screws me up is the stupid fanny pack.
Yeah.
I like having that up in it because it's a Badlands. It's like the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
You can put it on, and if you want to, you can open up, it folds out, and then you can put everything.
Yeah,
right.
It sounds
in
like though it sounds like a perfect one would be a combination of the monster and the bucket.
Yeah,
because I thought you had the monster, but I remember now that you said it turns into that.
Yeah, it turns into it. It's nice, but
then you can't even. But you said also you can't get into it when you got the bucket up.
Yeah, if you fold it out in the bucket, then
you try to get anything.
If you try to get everything falls out on the ground, like, well, so you got to take everything out and then put it in the bucket. But no, it works. But yeah, I was thinking, man, I really got. When I got home, I told my wife, I'm like, I definitely got to refine my system because.
Well, that's what mine is just for the whole time, the camera arm. The base was the bane of my existence.
Yeah,
all of it. Just that and bow ropes. I still hate bow ropes, but
bow ropes suck a dick.
And so everybody's gonna say Doyle's gear hoist, and I've considered it, but I just haven't taken the plunge yet.
No, now paracord's by far my favorite.
You just do the Taylor way.
Yeah, the Taylor way is awesome. So Taylor Chamberlain. His little video, I mentioned this last year, but the way you figure eight it across your fingers and it doesn't even, paracord doesn't knot up nearly as bad as that shitty, cheap Walmart bow rope. And that's my other one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not kidding you. I spent, 10 minutes at the bottom of my tree last night untangling that damn thing because I just got done with it last year and just threw it in my freaking bronc box, and I dug it out, yesterday afternoon. I'm like, oh shit, I need a bow rope. And then I couldn't find my other one. But
yeah, the
what we really need though is to talk about is retrieval equipment.
Yeah.
You've never seen such a disappointing look on a man's face. So we're going in to hunt this little marsh where I took Bradley in last year. He killed that 10-point. So we got these 2 red pines. They're this far apart, 5 feet. So he goes up one, and I go up the other and turn a little bit. We get all the way up. I'm setting up the camera in the front. One shooting at him, getting the other one out, and I'm about ready. And I looked over just in time. He was trying to
My bow rope.
about the bow rope, and he goes, this quiver of arrows goes.
I already
Thud.
had my quiver hooked on my stand and my bow.
Is that
arrow
magnetic?
on. Yeah, it's magnetic, and I slid it on. My freaking bow rope was down, in between it, and it had like a knot on the son of a bitch. And I'm pulling it up, and it went, God damn it! I went, ching. There they go.
And he looked. I can't believe I didn't think about turning the camera on real quick. I said, I got to film this. He said, you do and I'll kill you. The look on his face when he looked at me. Looked down, looked at me. We tried a retrieval. Didn't work.
He used my saw, and I got him. But there was a tree in between me and him. So I hand him the rope, right? And he's over there farting around, and he pulls it up a ways, and all of a sudden, thud, they're over there. I go, I got to get down now.
Well, that's not the only one, though. You're saying you dropped
your sandwich. Me and Dan were hunting, yeah. I'm up there, get up, and we were going to do an all-day set because it was way back, I get up in the tree, dude. It's still dark, I'm up there, and I'm going to put my fanny pack on the tree. Not realizing that it's still unzipped and it's upside down. Next thing I got, it looked like a fucking yard sale down there, man. Shit's hitting the ground. I'm going, oh, God damn it, there's the same. Oh, my water, all this shit, and I'm going, son of a bitch, So I sat there. I had one sandwich left, and I ate that at 9 o'clock.
For your all-day sit?
Yeah, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
You waited anyways a little
2
bit.
o'clock in the afternoon, I texted Dan, and I goes, man, I said, that sandwich is really looking good. He goes, I can't believe you ain't climbed down and nailed it. And I goes, no, I wasn't going to climb down. He goes, well, I can't believe you haven't fished it back up there. And I go, I hadn't really thought much about that. I didn't really have anything but my saw, So I tie the saw on, drop it down, and I leave it bent, And I'm hooking the edge of the bag, and it ain't working, I can't move. I hook it, so I brought it back up, and I was getting pissed. So I straightened the saw right out, locked it, and then let it down straight.
Dropped it right straight through it.
I dropped it down. I was thinking about doing an arrow like that, man. and I let it down, and then the blade just, was sharp enough where I just hooked the bag, very carefully, man. I pull this up. Hey, I get it all the way up, dude, and it's right here. And I squashed it, man. I squashed that sandwich. I just like that. Letting it go.
What I was going to say, though, is could you imagine? So he says 2 o'clock or whatever. If you're going out to hunt and spot, and you're not paying attention, you're just sneaking through, and then you just see the sandwich levitating.
Yeah. The hell's that? I showed Johnny tonight. I'm doing an M60.
Yeah. Told him we should cut the barbs off, though.
He's going to reach into his pack one day.
I said, no, I'm going to put a sheath on it,
But they make our buddy Tim Clark, he's I got a grappling hook.
Grabber or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a hook like this, and when you let it down, it opens up, and then it's kind of like the claw machine.
Yeah.
But I've thought about that.
I need one.
But with the sticks, it's not that bad. Just to climb down.
I was say, yeah, with the in the saddle, shit, you just.
And I told Ernie when I got back up there the other night, I said, well, I got my cardio in for the day.
Up, down.
I watched you go down. Watched him come back up.
So with you, filming Frank now, has it changed any of your setups? Like you were saying where you were at in that marsh. would you have liked to have been over there in this tree, but there wasn't two trees together or anything like that?
It'll alter it.
I
told him I'll go up the
where I
same
can
tree
slap,
if you
where I
want
can-
me to
hey,
get up above you. He don't like that.
I like them close over here where I can reach out and slap them.
But you guys have run into that too, where you're looking because you had deer over here, and Ernie's
Well,
like, "Don't move, there's deer over there."
Yeah, and then there's one right behind us right here. We were watching 2 bucks the other night, and could have ended up shooting both of them, and neither one were
Big enough.
Yeah, they got
Shooters.
restriction.
They didn't. Well, in your definition of shooter means just breathing, but the law says it's got to have so many
right.
points up there.
Right.
So,
Well, hopefully things are going to change this coming week.
yeah. So, like I said, I just kind of wanted to wrap up, kind of where we're at in the season so far. So what have you got going on? You're headed
North.
for indefinite amount of time,
Yes,
right?
I'm going to be up there. Chris is laid off, so he asked me. He says today when he came over for supper, he goes, "What should I tell my wife about when we're coming back?" We'll let her know.
And then John, for you,
Well, I'm not sure. I was supposed to go up to the UP and hunt my buddy's property up there, but if that happens, that and Jet is playing football, and so he was supposed to go up there with me. So he's between football and his girlfriend. Yeah, he is. Hunting's the last thing on his mind. Well, hunting deer anyway.
Right.
So
4-legged.
yeah, I think he's in the rut himself. But so I don't know. I'm gonna try to get up there. If not, I'm not. My truck's going in next weekend to get some stuff done on the paint, and then so I won't have a truck next weekend to go hunting. And then, but hopefully, the next weekend will work. But
yeah, I've got this coming up Thursday off, so I'm gonna hunt. And I've been watching that cell cam, just waiting because I got some really good bucks. I've been posted some pictures and stuff on Instagram or whatever, but I'm just kind of waiting to get more daylight pictures. The one buck is super, daylight and dark. He's back and forth. It's just, I haven't been there for that. And it's just, he's creeping up closer and closer to daylight,
Yeah.
So
I guess if I just got off my ass and got my shit done around the house like I'm supposed to, then I would have a bunch of time. But I don't know, I just got a bunch of projects to do, so just rip down part of the living room wall and I'm gonna build a whole new fireplace.
Not the time of year to do that.
I think the 6th is a Friday. So that Friday I got to work, and then I'm off until the 16th. So
That'll probably be the weekend I get to go.
Yeah.
Or it'll be a long weekend, 4 days probably. If I can sneak away and get up to the UP. I know he's got some nice bucks. He sent me a picture of one of his buddies shot a nice 8-point or decent 8-point up there. But I haven't, really scouted the area. I went and we drove around. He's got shooting shacks. He mainly gun hunts. So he baits and stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not going to hunt over bait. I'm not going to sit in a shooting shack with my, vertical bow, but I'll, find a place to hunt.
sit on top of it.
Yeah. He's got some pretty nice ones out there.
But yeah, like
You going to take Heart Shot with you?
Mark.
Oh. No. I'm not bringing Mark.
Oh.
But yeah, so I'm optimistic, that I'll get another opportunity here coming up. It's just weird because every year I've just kind of whatever comes by, and now I've got deer that I'm like, now I know that there's deer out there, and I'm just trying to figure out how to intercept them. I guess it's quite different.
I'm going to intercept him this coming week.
Yeah.
Are you going up there?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we may
Some
get.
of it. I know he's going to be there longer than me this trip, and then we go back on the 4th. All my brothers will be at camp, but we'll go back up on the 4th and go through the.
I might still be there.
Well, you need to get.
Well, I'll probably stop up
Yeah.
and see you up there. I would talk to one of the ladies or I talked to one of the property owners where my little lot is, and she's like, "Have you seen the big buck?" I'm like, "No, I haven't." But she's like, "Oh, there's a big buck. My husband's got a blind right over there. And they have like an acre and a half." I'm like, "Not sure how that's going to work out."
That's funny. But I can only think of, talking to Billy and Taylor, when people are like, "There's a monster buck that keeps coming and ripping up my landscaping," and
that's what I was thinking too. The big buck. I'm like, yeah. Maybe show me a picture of the big buck.
But yeah, so that's our season so far. Just kind of a recap, and it hasn't even gotten good yet. So hopefully, but now Ernie, you need to make sure to get some of the video in camp with Chris and Uncle Frank.
Some comic relief.
Some gas station commentary.
Stories. Yeah.
So did you get a no tag for up there this year?
No.
So you have 2 tags?
Yep.
And Adam, you have 1 tag left, or you got a doe tag?
I got a doe tag for New County.
Yeah, I got my 2 regular season tags, and I got 3 doe tags.
Jeez.
For Muskegon County. But public land.
I got 1.
You just got greedy or what? Like,
I just put them in my cart.
Was it like the Tacticam?
Yeah, I was like,
you weren't looking.
No, I just bought 3. I bought 3 last year and didn't fill any, but just there.
All right. Well, so last year we got 1 kill on camera. This year we've got 3 shots on camera, 1 kill. So we're right here. So lots of cameras out.
We got a shot of the elk.
Yep. And we got John almost poking himself in the eye, going, fuck. Ah, fuck.
You'll get. Have you looked at the ones we just did?
I went through a little bit of it, yeah.
I got a chipmunk on video.
Did you see him?
Heart shot.
No.
He'd catch me. I got him once, and then he took a leak. Doesn't know, but I filmed that right off the stand.
Hey,
well,
took a leak off the stand though. They're down at the base of the tree, right? Before we climbed the one day. An hour later, that buck come through?
Right to it.
Well, that's what I was telling it. Like, I think it was before we started recording. That spot that I hunted last night, was it 2 years ago? I did the same thing. I was sitting there and I was like, man, I can't hold it. And I didn't have any piss jug with me or anything. So I just pissed off my stand. And that little 3-pointer or whatever, he walked right in and he walked through, and then all of a sudden he circled back and he walked right to the bottom of my tree and smelled that.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah.
I mean, not saying a big buck's going to do that, but.
Well, that Jeff from Whitetail
Habitat Solutions, Jeff Sturgis,
he still claims in approximately 20 minutes it's all ammonia. They have a really tough time determining what it is.
Well, what I did too, and I noticed, like I scraped right into the dirt, with my foot, and you can smell that fresh earth, you know what I mean? And then I just pissed in that and just covered it up with that dirt, Yeah.
So it smelled like fresh earth that somebody just pissed in.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much.
But I think that's kind of all we got for the evening. So thanks for listening. I'll have to edit Uncle Frank's hiatus out of there a little bit.
Sorry.
But appreciate everybody listening, and thanks for following along.